Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Hey Coach podcast here on WEOL in partnership with the Chronicle Telegram. I'm your host, Rocco Nuosci, and joining me on the other side of the internet here, it is now retired Vermilion head baseball coach Jeff Keck. 37 years, 531 wins, and he decides to step away after this past season. So, Coach, first and foremost, an honor to have you on the podcast here. You know, I didn't get to see a lot of you guys over the years. I got to the station in 2020, and you know how spring sports can go. We just didn't get out there as much as we could have, but certainly heard a lot about you. I know I got to see you guys a couple of times. So let me start with this, Coach. Why did now feel like the timing was right to step away as head coach of the Vermilion baseball program?
Well, I mean, I've been every year, as the years go by, you think about when it's going to be time. And somebody told me one time that, you'll just know. And I just knew it was the right time. I've done it for this so many years, and it's become a part of me. And I just know that, I just knew it was the right time to do it. I think the program is stable. It's in good shape. It'll be in good hands. And for just all those reasons, I just felt it was the right time.
37 years ago when you set out on your coaching career, 531 total wins, Coach, when it's all said and done. Is that a number? Would you have believed yourself if, somebody told you, hey, 37 years ago, you're going to get over 500 wins, 531 to be exact, when it's all said and done? Would you have believed that?
Oh, you don't think about that. I had no idea. I was when I started doing this in 1985 at Firelands High School, and I was just a young guy. I was probably 25 years old. And I had coached football at Firelands for a couple of years, and the baseball job came open, and I was just a young kid, and I just thought that was going to be a great thing, good opportunity for me to be a head coach, and it all worked out. I mean, I had some great kids at Firelands, and I've been lucky to have good players, quality kids. I've just been very fortunate and very blessed through the years to just have good players, and not just good baseball players, but good kids, good quality kids that that turned into fine young men, and that's what I'm kind of probably the most proud of.
I definitely do want to circle back to a couple of the individuals that you coached over the years. But I want to stick with that theme of being at Firelands first, right? And then you go to Vermilion. Obviously, folks around Lorain County know about the rivalry within those two communities. You got the Stillman Cup now, right? So for you, what was that sort of like, being a part of that rivalry on both sides of the coin? You don't really see that every day.
It was pretty. I feel like I was on both ends of it. And actually, for a while, I coached baseball at Firelands and football at Vermilion. So it was really it was kind of different for that, And I feel like I've always had a good rapport with the kids, and I didn't feel like they resented me for it or anything like that. It was just it was just one of those things. I just felt like it was the right time, the right thing to do, and it just all worked out. But yeah, it was different. I've been on both ends of the rivalry. Turned out in the 2021 season when we had that tournament run, it was ironic that we had played let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We played 5 Sandusky Bay Conference teams in the tournament run that we had already played twice, and then in the regional finals, lo and behold, we wind up playing Firelands at Bowling Green. So, I mean, it was just like one of those things where, I mean, just from, you think about tournament, making a tournament run like that, you're going to play teams that you've never heard of or run into. But in that case, that year, it was teams that we were, had already played that we were really familiar with. So that was kind of ironic that happened.
Well, Coach, let's stay with 2021. I guess first and foremost, when you get to the postseason that year, right? And mind you, you're coming off a year where there is no spring sports, right? COVID's going on.
Correct.
Kind of just,
Yeah.
Wrecked that entire 2020 spring season. So you guys come back the following year, you get to the postseason. So before you guys even started tournament play, did you kind of have a feeling in the back of the mind, like, okay, hey, this is a group that can maybe do something special, or what was kind of the vibe?
Yeah. Well, two years before that, in the 2019 season, we made it to the regional finals, and the group of kids that were in the 2021 season, a lot of those guys were on a 20. I think their record was 20-1 or 20-2, a JV team that was real good.
Wow.
And no one will ever know how that 2020 team would have been, but I mean that would have been a pretty good team too. It's just that it's just one of those things with the COVID that happened, and I'm sure there's a lot of teams or a lot of schools that can say the same thing, that they,
Hmm.
that they who will never know, how the year would have turned out. But, my guess is it would have been a pretty good season too. So, but yeah, the
So
2021 team, we knew we had a pretty special group, but it's in baseball with a one run or a one in any high school sports with the one and out, scenario, you just have to play it out. And in baseball especially, you have to get some breaks, and things happened that year, and we did get some breaks, and it all worked out. But yeah, it was a special year.
let's talk about the regional final win against Firelands, because I look back on it again. This is my first year at the station, so still wet behind the ears in Lorain County, but just kind of following along with how that game went. You guys had built an early double-digit
Yeah,
lead over Firelands.
yeah,
So you're up 10 plus runs in a regional final.
yeah.
They come storming back. 17-14 ends up being the final. It's like you guys played football instead of baseball that afternoon. But what do you remember about that game,
Oh,
Coach? I'm sure it's just
oh,
an
the game.
emotional roller coaster.
Oh, unbelievable game. I mean, never been in a game like that, but never will again. I mean, it was just, it was incredible. I mean, we knew they could score runs. They had that, Coach Ransom had that team that was, they would take extra bases. They were aggressive. They were good hitters. They could score a bunch of runs, and they were dangerous. And that's exactly what happened. We knew no lead was safe. I mean, we were, I remember, thinking to myself, we had a big lead, and I'm thinking about, you don't want to be, you at some point you stop stealing bases, and you stop being real aggressive, because you don't want to, like,
Sure.
but in that case it was like, no, we got to keep on the gas pedal, because they could come back at any time, and that's exactly what happened. I think we had we retired the side in the bottom of the inning, I think, if I remember right, in the fifth and the sixth, we could have had the 10-run rule, but it never happened. Lo and behold, here it is in the bottom of the top of the seventh, and we're still fighting for our life, and they got the bases loaded, and they're still going. It's like, finally, I just remember I have the ball on my shelf on my desk at home, the ball that Nick Worth caught in center field to end the game, and I was like, finally I could breathe again. It seemed like, because it was just like, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable just reading through. I read the Chronicle article the other day, kind of prepping for this interview, and just an amazing baseball game. I'm sure the one that you had to probably catch your breath later that night and probably a couple days after. So, that obviously took you guys to the state final four, right? And you run into Archbishop Hoban, and it didn't go your guys' way that afternoon. 4-3 ends up being the final. Do you look back on that one at all, Coach, and
Oh,
think
all the
about
time.
what maybe could have gone differently? Or
All the time. You always do that. One thing would have happened here or there. I think we left 10 guys on base. We couldn't get
Mm,
runs home, but 4-3 game. We had they had a we had they had a scored a couple in the first inning. They had a real good player. I think he was their center fielder, I think, or maybe he was their catcher, that got a double in that first inning and scored 2 runs. And then we battled back, and they had some good players. And, obviously they wound up winning the state championship, but 4-3 against them. And, you always think about
mhm.
what could have been. Who knows? I mean, we had Jake Krauser pitching. Anytime Jake pitched, we were in good shape, because he was going to be that guy that's going to shut teams down, and always get between 12 and 15 strikeouts. And it was one of those things, we knew we were always going to be in a game when he pitched. The next day, we had some good pitchers behind him, but it was always, in a tournament, you always got in the finals of a tournament, it's going to be who's your better number 2 and number 3 pitchers, and that's who's going to come out of it. And we had made it that far, so that was that was quite a game for sure.
I'm going to hate myself for asking you this, Coach, but I'm going to go ahead anyway, and you feel free not to answer this one. But let's say you guys end up beating Archbishop Hoban that afternoon. Do you get that one more win, do you think, in your mind to bring it all home?
I would like to think so. I mean, they won it all. So, I mean, they beat the team that we would have played the team that they beat. And, we lost to them 4-3. So I would like to think we would have had a chance. But like I said, in baseball, you got to get some breaks and you just got to play the game. That's the bottom line. So, I would like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think about this postseason run that we followed Amherst all the way to their state
Oh, yeah.
championship game, and my goodness, it was borderline miracle after miracle for those guys in the postseason.
Yeah,
But that's what it
for
takes
sure.
sometime. To your point, especially with baseball and softball for that matter too. You need some balls to bounce your way and things like that. So. Very good. You mentioned Krauscher, and I want to ask you about this. Jared Kozar actually, he was like, "Hey, make sure you ask him about all these guys that you sent on to play college ball, right? A lot of guys went through that Sailor baseball program. They went on to play at the next level. Krauscher, Ethan Hendrickson, Andy Oliver, perhaps the most notable
Oh, yeah.
out of all these guys. So just tell me about that. The fact that you got more than one or two guys to play college ball, and even beyond that.
Yeah, oh, that's the thing. The first thing I said. I mean, I've been blessed with good players. I mean, especially pitching. In high school, pitching is everybody knows that, and not just high school. Any baseball level of baseball, pitching is the key. And we've been blessed to have pitching. Really, year after year, we've had good pitchers. One or two guys that could shut teams down. And we always say, you got guys that can get 10, 12, 10, 15 strikeouts a game. It limits the number of defensive plays you have to make, limits the chances of mistakes on defense. And then, you know, we've been years where we haven't had great hitting teams, but we just felt like if we scored 3 runs, we were in pretty good shape because of the pitching we had. So that's been really a key to our success.
You get inducted to the Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame this past season. What did that mean for you to get that distinction, to get that honor? Kind of feels like to me maybe a cherry on top, so to speak, for your career.
Oh, yeah, I was very honored. I mean, that day that was, I've been in the state baseball coaches association. That was one of the things in my career that I really cherish that I had a chance to do that because those guys were just a phenomenal group of people that from around the state and just the relationships that you build and, those, every year in and year out, you see guys that were you consider legends of the game that are inducted into that, and to be one of those, it's like very humbling and very I was very honored that happened to me. So yeah, that was truly a special moment. Yeah.
Well, certainly well deserved, Coach. Absolutely. You mentioned in the article that Todd Shapiro wrote in the Chronicle Telegram when you got inducted, and it was a really great article. I encourage our listeners or viewers of this podcast to go check out that article over at chroniclet.com. You mentioned your wife Tessa and how much of a rock she was for you throughout so much of your coaching career. And I just want to give you a chance to talk about her and what that support meant to you, because I do some assistant coaching for basketball on the side. My wife, Courtney, in that same vein, is at all the games. Whether it's a blizzard or clear as can be outside, she's there. She's sitting courtside watching all the games. So I could relate a little bit to what you were talking about with your wife. And so again, just wanted to give you a chance to maybe talk about her and just how important she was to you for making this career happen.
Yeah, I mean, she's the reason. I mean, she's a real important person, the most important person in my life, and there's no question that without her support, there's no way I could have done this. There's years where I coached 3 sports for probably a span of about 10 years or so, and not many. She just gets it. I mean, she knows that that's important to me. It's important to her. I mean, it's been part of her. I mean, we live, like less than 5 minutes from the school. I mean, we look out our front door, we can see the back of the first base dugout from our front door. So, I mean, it's just been part of us, just the little things like making, team breakfast for the kids and just stuff like that. It's been part of us, and that's what's truly special. I mean, she gets it because her father was a legendary football coach down in Stark County, so she grew up with it. You know, she just knows the way it's supposed to be in that life that we've led, and it's been all good to us. So now it's time maybe to, for her to travel a little bit and do some things that we haven't been able to do because I've been coaching all the time. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, now you got to pay it back. You got to pay it back a little bit now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, for sure.
So we can close with this, Coach. I mean, again, 37 years. You were doing this, like you said, a decade of doing 3 sports. What are you going to miss the most about all of this?
I think like I said, the relationships with coaches, the opposing coaches, my assistants, the guys in the coaches association, Lorraine County Baseball Coaches Association. I've been a big part of that in the last, you know, 37 years, and that, and it's the state association, just the relationships with coaches. Um, the kids, you miss the kids, and the rapport you have with the kids. It's rewarding, year in and year out. You have, as it goes by, it just runs together. But you think about the different groups of kids that you have for about 3 years or so, and then you have a different 3 or 4 groups of kids, and it's all different. Every season's different. You have a different mix, and just finding the right chemistry each year, and watching kids develop into players from their freshman year to their senior year, and just all of that is just pretty cool stuff. That's what I always enjoyed, but I'll miss that.
Fantastic. Well, Coach, again, congratulations on an amazing, incredible career. We talked about Bob Walsh, a couple of weeks ago here on the podcast, and just the legendary career that he had. And we throw the word legend around sometimes, and I don't know if you'd want to take that on, that moniker, but
No.
certainly the career, the amount of wins, and what you did over there at Vermilion, it's up there. So again, congratulations again, Coach, on just a stellar career.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys do for high school sports. You guys do an incredible job.